Alright, so, I know what you're thinking. Where's the Batman TMNT 2 review? You're reviewing Batman TMNT 3. Did I miss it? No, you didn't miss it. This is just the one I managed to pick up. I have been meaning to grab the Batman TMNT collection for a long time. Not because I don't want to, it's mostly because, like, every time I try to look for them, they're, like, gone, or, like, I miss the chance to grab them when I can. So, my local comic shop had Batman TMNT 3, I took it as like, all right, I will grab this one. So now only Batman TMNT 2 is eludes me. Now, to be fair, I do have the first one, and I have I guess you could call it the fourth one, because that one is a different continuity involving the 90s cartoon Batman with the 2012 cartoon Turtles. And honestly, you could really read all of these, like, you could read this one, and you could read the first one and then read this one, and you would not miss anything from the second one, because they just have a throwaway line in it. And, like, the second one is really more connected. This one feels like its own story. Like, really, Batman TMNT 3 really does feel like, at its core, its own story. Like, you wouldn't have to really read the other two. Like, I have this sneaking suspicion that Tynion wanted to do this first, and yeah, him and Freddie Williams the second, who I've actually met both of them on different occasions, both at MegaCon. I met Tynion first, and he was, and this was just when the animated film had come out, and he was all excited. It was a great interview. I wish I could post it on YouTube. I've lost that, so I would love to do that. It was part of Comic Universe. Does anyone remember Comic Universe? Remember that clusterfuck of an idea that went nowhere? I do. Anyway. Yeah. So, obviously this is part of the... and I recently met Freddie Williams II. I got a signed autograph of his, of the picture that literally got him the job for Godzilla Power Rangers. But like I said, feels like something Tynion wanted to do with Batman TMNT from the beginning, but they were like, slow. I feel like DC and IDW were like, slow your roll, James. Just save it for if you want to make it, if we get a sequel, which Batman TMNT, it will probably make money, but probably not enough to get, like, I don't know, 3 stories. And then they made a lot of money and made an animated movie. Which, doesn't that still blow your mind, right? Like, there was a fucking animated movie for Batman Ninja Turtles. Can anyone, like, when you hear that, like, nowadays, it's like, there's no way that WB and Nickelodeon were cool about this. Like, the fact that we have it in animated form is mind-boggling. It still blows my mind. I have it in my DVD collection. And it blows my mind. Anyway, so let's talk about the actual story. So this story is, shall we say, ambitious, because this was the final of the Tynion Williams Batman TMNT trilogy, and basically what it was a massive, like, let's go all out. Like, we did first story, it's Shredder and Ra's al Ghul, and mutant Batman villains, but for the second one, it was Bane taking over the Foot Clan, and then they're like, how do we top Bane being, fighting? Like, how do we stop, like, we had we had literally Bane, the last villain, and then Shredder and Ra's al Ghul and Ra's al Ghul teaming up together. So how can we top that? How can we really top that? I know, let's have Krang take over the Anti-Monitor's body and make a multiverse of the DC Universe and the Turtles verse. Because fuck you, that's why. Yeah. It's interesting. Like, it's a very big, very bombastic, like, let's go all out, this is the final one. Which, why does it need to be the final one? It clearly made a lot of bank. Like, it made a lot of bank. The Batman TMNT idea made so much bank, and yeah. Although I do have this sneaking suspicion that that TMNT Power Rangers is going to be the next big thing, judging by the amount of stuff we've seen for merchandising. There are even now Funko Pops of Power Rangers Ninja Turtles, of the Turtle Rangers. And I also am going to say this. I think we are going to get an announcement this year, just from those Funko Pops announcement alone. I legit think we are going to get an announcement. We're going to get a legit announcement for a Power Rangers TMNT 2. And I also say that because I also met Ryan Parrott at MegaCon, and when I asked him about TMNT Power Rangers 2, he was like coy about it. He's like, what would you like to see from it? Like, what would you like to see from it? And I told him, like, I'd love to see Krang with the Machine Empire. And we both geeked out over that idea. Like, King Mondo's body gets, like, ripped out of him and Krang's in there, like, controlling King Mondo. Yeah, and it's not too dissimilar from this, because, like I said, Krang literally builds a multiverse it takes the Anti-Monitor's body, which they never acknowledge. Like, this throwaway line where Krang was like, oh yes, Anti-Monitor, I took his armor and hollowed him out and took over his body. I'm like, but how, though? How? Krang, did you best the Anti-Monitor? Whatever. It's a cool image. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, the idea of Krang in Anti-Monitor's body is a cool image, but, like, when you really, like, think on it, it makes no goddamn sense. Yeah. So in this new multiverse, there's a new, like, continuity where where Bruce Wayne's parents were killed, and he survived, but they were killed by Joe Chill jacking a truck full of ooze. He hit their parents while he was escaping, and he fell into the sewer where the turtles he had just acquired, that he just bought, mutated, and Splinter, like, raised all of them. So now Bruce was raised with, like, a family now. Like, he had, like, a family to care for him and to love him. So it's a new continuity where Batman has, like, a little more fun. It's kind of like, I'm going to quote Comic Pop, where he's like, Batman is always so lenient with the Turtles, where it's like, cowabunga, pizza, and Batman's like, yeah. And that's what I like here, and that's what I've liked about Tynian's Batman, is that he doesn't try to go for, like, dark and broody. He's like, yeah, Batman has a family. Like, he's not, like, the dark and brooding loner. He's got, like, a whole, like, cavalcade of characters. And that's the whole point of this comic, is that Batman has a family from both the Turtles and the Bat family. And also, can I just say, like, I like the designs of the Turtles. Basically, they all become different, like, they take on the costumes of the different Robins. And they even bring up that Michelangelo, who takes on, like, a costume similar to Damien's. Damien brings up later on, why are you wearing my costume? We're nothing alike! Yeah, and it gets crazier because this also, like, I have a sneaking suspicion that Tynian, like, literally watched Turtles Forever, because this takes a lot of Turtles Forever. Like, we also have the Turtles from the Kevin Eastman comic, the original, like, Turtles Prime in here, helping to stop Krang's multiverse thing, as well as, like, I guess you could call him, like, pre-Crisis Batman, but I couldn't help it, like, because it's the blue costume, and he's like, let's go, old chum. I'm like, I'm gonna call that one Adam West Batman. So, yeah. And there's neat fusions, like, it's just Freddie Williams II who gets to just fucking go all out with all these images. Like, Freddie Williams can be really good, but there are other times where I'm like, those proportions are really off. like there are some of his artwork where I'm like, man, this is, like, really cool, but also proportions are really fucking off. Like, wow. It's a really good comic. I think it's a nice send-off to Batman and the Ninja Turtles. But also, why does Splinter become... if Splinter raised Bruce with the rest of the Turtles in this new universe, why does he become Alfred? Like, he says, I took on the role of a servant to be, to help you better cope with the loss. And I'm like, he couldn't be like be like a fusion with like Ducard or I don't know, 30 other of Bruce's old masters. I don't know. Anyway, so this comic's been out for a while. You could probably find it online as well as like, you know, comic shops. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Also, it's going to be really weird because I reviewed this first before the second one. And you know me, I'm a stickler for being in order and all that jazz. So, yeah. So if you've read Batman TMNT 3, you guys send me in the comments below. What did you guys think of it? Like it? Hate it? Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you haven't already, hit the link below. Head on over to my Patreon. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.